Welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman. I'll be your ex-ho, and today's guest is Joe John Sanchez III. So sit back, relax, enjoy the episode, and remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe.
Hi, I am Joe John Sanchez III. I am a Portland, Oregon-based comedian, and I am pansexual, non-binary, they, them pronouns, and I am currently in an open relationship, and I don't know if I'd call myself polyamorous, but I'm not closed off to it. I just don't have the bandwidth right now.
All right. Well, the first thing that we always do is a marry, shag, kill.
Ooh.
And so I try to cater this to each person, but I don't know you that well. I saw that you were on. Let me go share my screen. I saw that you were on a Dad Fest,
Oh, yeah.
so I decided to do a Daddy edition.
Ooh.
So let's see if this will pull up right. All right, you can see that, correct?
Yes, I'm so
All
excited.
right. All right, here we go. All right, you can marry one, shag one, kill one. We got Andy Cohen, Lance Bass, and Neil Patrick Harris. A very, very white lineup, but you know.
Yeah, it's giving Ryan Murphy casting vibes.
Yeah.
I have to say my immediate instinct, and I'm so sorry to anyone who's a fan of him, but for some reason just has smug theater energy. I'm gonna what are we calling it? Is it not kill?
It is kill.
Oh,
It
it's kill. I'm killing NPH.
okay. All right.
For
There you go.
sure. I suppose I will marry Lance Bass because he seems like the most tolerable personality of the three, and I'm gonna shag Andy Cohen because also an intolerable person to me
Right.
personally,
Right. Right.
but he can get it.
I mean, he's kind of cute. Yeah. So, all right. There we have it. Goodbye, Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh my.
Okay. Um, when it comes to sex, would you rather watch or be watched?
Oh, I'm gonna say be watched. Should I elaborate? No.
Sure, if you want to, I would love that.
I mean, both are valid in every way, but there's something just exciting. I'm a performer at the end of the day. um, I don't know. How far should I go into stories with these questions?
Hey, that's up to you. I would rather you talk more than less because I do get people on here that give me yes, no answers, and I'm like, come on,
For
fucking tell me.
sure. Okay. Well, I'm going to say way too much right now, and hopefully it's okay to say some of these things. But back when I was in college, I got invited to a few group situations because I was a little 18-year-old skinny twink, and obviously desirable within certain circles. And there was a point in which I was invited to a mansion in Connecticut. And basically it was someone from Yale who was just like, come to this big party, who was around my age. And he was very offended because as soon as I got there, and this ties back to the daddy thing, there was someone who was probably twice my age, and I was just like, "Auga!" And wound up upstairs in a bedroom with him, and we'll just say he was very vocal in a way that drew attention.
Oh,
So there was a point where several people just paraded in to watch.
it's hot, isn't
Sorry,
it?
mom. Sorry,
Yeah.
mom, but it was one of the hottest things that's ever happened in my
Yeah.
life. Just to be.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. You know, I thought when I just started doing this, I figured that almost everybody was going to say be watched because we're all performers. I figured we're all exhibitionists, but uh, That's not been the case at all. So
Oh
uh,
yeah.
it's been body image issues. That's
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
Um,
but yeah, I'm with you on that one. So all right, now we're going to kind of go back to when you were growing up.
mhm.
And so when you were little, what did your parents or whoever raised you call private parts?
Oh gosh, probably just like penis and vagina. It was like the 80s and early 90s. So we didn't talk about them very much. I'll say that much. Like my family was very private. I grew up Catholic, and just like lots of secrets. Like for context, I did not know my parents were divorced until I was 13, but they got divorced when I was like 4. So
Oh,
they actually wound up getting remarried later in life, but um, it's just you're a kid, you don't really understand relationship dynamics. And my father was around enough that I was just like, oh, he's just away on business. And for some reason, he just goes down
uh,
the street and lives with his college friend.
interesting. Wow. College friend, as in a woman or another guy?
Yes. Yeah. Which again should have made it more obvious, especially,
Right, right,
but they weren't expressing affection around me, so it was sort of very much under wrap.
right, right. Well, so my next question were they good relationship role models? So we're going to assume that was a no. And then so my next question
Yeah,
is,
absolutely not.
how
And
has their role modeling of relationships affected you and your relationship?
I think that uh, I have definitely witnessed how my mother presents to the world. And again, maybe I'll regret saying this, but my mother definitely tried to keep up appearances. And I've never felt that way in any sense of my life. Like, I do like to just be upfront about who I am and where I am, even when it's slightly messy. And
Do you think that's directly because of her and the way she was, or do you think
oh,
you just
absolutely, it's a direct rebellion.
right?
Sometimes we turn into our parents, and sometimes we turn into the exact opposite of our parents.
Mhm. The
It's,
reverse role model thing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get
Um,
it.
and
Okay.
huh.
So now I'm going to talk about or I want you to talk about your, what I call a sexual awakening. So that's when you first realize sex was a thing. Either
Hmm.
somebody told you about it or you just noticed stuff going on with your body or whatever it was. Can you talk about that a little bit?
um, like weirdly, the closest thing I can think of is fourth grade, where I like literally maybe heard the word sex for the first time, or was at least it's when I remember being aware about it and talking about it with my friends. And them making jokes about like it's like a pencil sharpener, and all these little things that are just like so in my head, I thought sex was just oral sex. I don't know
Mhm.
why for some reason I couldn't comprehend other holes being involved
Oh,
as a
right.
child. I'm just like, okay, well that's the hole, right? And I didn't know that it was like about reproduction in any way. Like, so
uh,
I was lacking so much context, but I like knew that sex was a word and a thing that involved a penis going into a hole. um, and that the word virgin was a thing because I remember there was a kid on the back of the bus. And if someone's in the back of the bus, they're cool, they're kind of a little bad.
uh,
And he did the jingle for 1-800-95 Jenny, but it was like 1-800-95 Michael, you won't be a virgin anymore. And it's stuck in my head to this day. Like, this is the first time I was aware of the concept of like virginity.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Did you have any celebrity crushes back then?
Oh God. So my parents were very adamant that I had a crush on Mary Kate and Ashley, both of them. Probably not wrong. But also I love them. But they're like partially though, kind of like queer culture.
Mm.
Like how could a child of that age not love them if they're just like given the freedom to do so? But I will say it was more of a in retrospect thinking about it thing that like I was very drawn to Richard Karn, Al on Home Improvement.
Oh,
I
really?
just found him very charming and lovely, and he was my favorite character. I don't think I like talked out loud about it, and I'm like, well, that tracks. I don't have a type, but sometimes I have a type.
Uh, okay. That's what I was going to ask. Is that your type? That's funny. I don't know
Yeah.
why I find that funny. I guess I've
Yeah.
just never heard anyone say they had a crush on him before.
Well, also in a weirder way, I don't know if you're familiar with like the X-Men cartoons, but I had a huge like I Beast was my favorite character. And he's
Mm,
sort of just a beefy, nerdy, bespectacled nerd. And I'm like, yeah, that also tracks.
yeah. Well, there's something about a beefy guy that mm, comfy. It's comfy.
Well, sorry, I could go on about celebrity crushes so long, but I remember like the very, very bi panic moment for me was definitely Maya, um, the pop R&B singer. She came out, I think, initially in the song Ghetto Superstar from the Bulworth soundtrack, but then she released a solo song called It's All About Me, and she's wearing this short little leather mini skirt in the music video. And that was when I was like, ah! Like, please don't be in the room with me when I'm watching this music video, family.
I mean, that makes me want to be pansexual or at least bisexual. Like you got so many more people to like be turned on by, you know?
What's so funny because it's like I knew this all along in my life, and I fluctuated between thinking, I'm straight, I'm bi, I'm gay, I'm bi again, and like then finally coming to this place where it's like, oh, the answer was there all along. You just weren't listening because you were so hung up on what society would.
Right. Right.
So, no.
Well, I think that like society has really just started to understand what pansexuality is.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, okay, that it makes sense. I mean, all right. Mainstream movies. Any sex scenes or love scenes in mainstream movies that you found arousing or exciting in any way?
Oh, this is an amazing question. And all I can think of coming to mind is Mark Ruffalo in specifically The Kids Are All Right, with I think it's Annette Bening and why I'm blanking out Julianne Moore, I believe. But
Mm.
he is having sex so much in that movie, like all the time. And I went to see it thinking it was going to be this like wholesome,
Oh,
queer family movie. And I went with my ex and his mother, and then suddenly it's just like, here's Mark Ruffalo just fucking like a machine constantly. And I'm like, I always had a crush on him since Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And there's a scene where he dances on the bed with Kirsten Dunst in like little tidy whities and shakes his little butt. And I've always, yeah. Honestly, that scene is more for me than like any actual sex scene in a movie. I'm trying to think. There are definitely other examples for sure, but
right, right.
yeah,
That's what
that
comes to
one was
mind.
yeah.
Do you watch porn?
So here's a fun fact about me. I actually spent like 6 years or so running a porn blog. Um, and it wasn't initially supposed to be a porn blog. It was a site for a blog for a dating site. Uh,
Okay.
but when I came in, a lot of what they were doing was mainstream news, and it'd be very dark sometimes. Like it'd be like all of these people were, killed in another country, and about like actually really important things, but not something anyone wants to read when they're coming onto a website to hook up with people.
Right.
Uh, so gradually, as we went on, and like I'm looking at the data, I'm approaching this as a marketer.
Right.
We started doing posts about like models and this or that, like just more simple things, celebrities type stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
those wound up getting a lot more clicks, obviously. So I just gradually, because we had sponsors for sex toy companies, porn, etc., was like, well, what if we introduce this with the affiliate links? It makes the company more money. And it wound up being the thing. So to answer the question, yes and no. I think I've definitely gravitated away from the mainstream stuff just because it seems more important, even if you can't literally afford to just support people who are out there doing sex work on their own versus these
Mm-hmm.
big companies, which are often so wrought with problems and exploitation. I mean, I won't say all of them are, but there are definitely some
Mm-hmm.
terrible ones out there. Yeah. I mean, there is someone who was on nearly every genre of porn that you can imagine. Primarily bi and trans porn, gay porn, made a crossover into straight porn, and then a report came out afterwards, and he'd been called out on like some of his viewpoints before, but a report came out that he was literally at January 6th.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And who could have ever guessed when he put all that information out there? But people were like, well, but should we even be thinking about politics? What matters? It's
Right.
whether they can perform. Should
Yeah.
does that take away his right to be in this industry? And I'm like, yeah, maybe if he's performing with trans people and advocating against their rights.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, do you have like a recommendation of a porn site or a way to view porn where you can pay and support people doing that kind of work?
Oh, that is a great question because I think even the performers themselves have different answers. Of
Okay.
some of them don't like OnlyFans because it limits what they're allowed to post, and then unfortunately, I found out that other sites there are like other issues, even with the back end of these independent platforms, much in the way that social media is flawed, where we're all there, we're using it. It's a way for us to promote ourselves and sometimes make money, but there's still issues. So, um, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if there is an ethical, like, perfect way to consume this
Right.
and support people other than like directly, but also just I don't know, not asking, but you know, if you are very attracted to this person, want to see more of them, actually, and can financially afford to do so, supporting them in
Mm-hmm.
a
Right.
way. I think custom content is a huge way that a lot of sex workers make money. So rather than sliding into the DMs and being like, hey, can you do this very obscure thing that only pertains to my fantasies? Sliding into the DMs and saying, hey, do you make custom content? And would this be in your wheelhouse?
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What is your definition of amazing sex?
Ah, I so defining that for the great world, I think that everyone's answer is going to vary. From a personal standpoint, I do like an element of like passion and connection, where it's not just this anonymous, hey, I just met you. And sometimes that can happen in that anonymous, I just met you moment where you're like, oh, I just connect, like feel a physical
Mm-hmm.
connection. It goes beyond just like, I like your body. Like there's something pheromones, a little sparkle in the
Okay.
eye that creates this spark. But beyond that, like also just feeling free in your body to the point where you're forgetting and like those body image issues that you might have go out the window because you're so in the moment with this person, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling like, um, and I will say just respectful consent and understanding of like what's okay with one another. It's important. Like I was having a conversation with someone today about this, about someone who just crossed these boundaries, not for me personally, but for a friend, and ruined a certain environment for him because he was just like, yeah, I can't go back to this place because this person crossed my
Right.
boundaries.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. We're going to go to the wheel of dirty questions now, but I forgot to get it set up, so give me a minute to go over there.
Ready for the
I'm gonna go over there real quick and fix it because I don't like to show all my open windows.
fair enough.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
All right, here we go. You only have to answer one.
ooh, 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 ooh. What is your favorite sexual position? Oh, that's so hard.
Well, hopefully it's hard.
Ah, okay, I don't want to say too much about myself, but like I am a butt person, so I probably doggy style. We'll just say it.
Okay.
Sometimes
All
the
right.
eye contact to reverse is better though, you know?
Um,
Doggy style with a mirror so I can see their face.
oh, there we go. Yeah. Um, how is your body image?
I fluctuate from day to day, and I think like my weight also fluctuates in tiny ways. But I feel just good where I am at the right now, I guess. I think I've just kind of radically accepted that no matter which side I'm at, I'm just gonna feel good about it, because if other people are enjoying what's there, I'm not going to complain. Do I wish I had bigger shoulders or something or more of an ass? Sure, but um, that takes work.
Mhm.
And I'm already doing so much work in life.
Right. Right. Um, I don't know where to put this question, but
Hmm.
this is not the spot for it, but I'm gonna do it anyway,
Okay,
and
go
then
for
we'll
it.
move to something better. No, but I'm trying to see like depending on the different. Well, the question really is: have you ever been made to feel ashamed of having the parts that you have in your life, entire life?
Hmm. Huh. That's an interest, yeah, because I mean, there are many ways to go about that question. I mean, sure, yes. I think the most weird example isn't so much the parts, but just the way in which they're presented that I can think of. And I would almost told this story yesterday, not yesterday, earlier. Um, but I was like, is this really relevant to the narrative that I was going for? But another situation in Connecticut in college is that I was messaged by someone who is like, hey, do you want to come over? I'm having a little party and asked me if I liked to party. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and honestly, it can mean various different types of drugs. So sometimes you have to be specific. But I was very much a dumb college kid who was just like, yeah, I love beer pong. Like, yeah, I'll have a few drinks. We're gonna party. We're gonna dance.
Right.
We're gonna,
Right.
like, have a little slutty time. Um, and I showed up to what wound up being a small meth orgy
Mm-hmm.
uh, in someone's living room. And there were two, I will say, more smooth, pretty boys there who, as soon as I took off my clothes, laughed at my pubes.
Oh.
Um, and yeah, I was like, that was not a fun moment for me. And I think like in my sort of journey with gender, body hair is a consideration in all of this, but
Mhm.
I've always felt like body hair shouldn't be gendered in any way. And that, it's perfectly fine for someone who identifies as a more feminine cis woman to have armpit hair or leg hair or this or that.
Mhm.
Society is creating these expectations on us, and I am just a lazy person who doesn't want to deal with all the maintenance.
Right. Right.
And most of my partners don't care about this. So
Mm-hmm.
um, there have definitely, oh, and yeah, there was definitely someone I dated in college who was like, shave everything, and um, made me feel like if I didn't, he wouldn't be attracted to me. Um, and because I was so attracted to him and so young and impressionable at the time, I sort of just went along with it, and
Right.
didn't think about what do I want, and like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right.
But you're just sort of my like poster of perfection in this moment that I can't think of, you know,
Right. No, yeah,
my,
no, nothing matters but doing that.
yeah.
Um, the reason I wrote that question was because I'm, uh, especially like as a bigger woman who's a busty woman, that even like, I've always like, oh, you're showing too much cleavage, like, just all that kind of stuff that I've always heard all my life. But
Yeah.
even now, that God blessed cartoon that I have on the cover for Diary of an Ex-Ho. Like I've had like certain cities, like people like, oh, we don't want this trash in our town.
Mm,
But when I take the woman off the poster, it's fine.
yeah.
The
Well,
fact that it's a sex themed show and everything is not the problem. It's the boobs.
yeah.
And it's just like and it's just like I finally decided like, okay, the titties are out all day, every day now. I'm not putting them away for anybody. Like,
Yeah.
I'll go to church like this now if I have to because they're just boobs. And
Right.
so then I like reflected back of all my life of having to be ashamed of my body. And then I thought, well, I wonder if like people who grew up as boys and men had the same issues ever of just feeling ashamed or being made to feel ashamed of what they had. And I
Yeah.
never thought of it in the context of body hair. Uh,
Right.
so that's interesting.
Well, even, I mean, this goes to comedy in the sense of like, oh, you're not supposed to wear shorts on stage. And I will tell you, the freest I ever feel is when I'm in the shortest little shorts.
Right, right.
It's how I like to have the movement and freedom of my legs being there. And also, it's very, if you got it, flaunt it. And I'm like, my legs are probably one of the best assets I have.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah,
don't understand, like, if someone's so distracted by this that they can't pay attention to your jokes, they're the problem. They're the little pervert.
right. What's the best compliment you've ever received on your naked body?
Oh, wow. That's a stumper. Hmm. I I think maybe this is just me being in this headspace of thinking about body hair, but I always do appreciate like if someone just touches my butt and like is like, I like how fuzzy it is. It's like it's just a
Yeah.
nice affirming thing. It's like, oh yeah, I made this the good choice, the one that was right for me. Not I don't want to harp on body hair, but I'm like, I don't I don't have a lot of like, and I will say getting attention when people do say they like my legs is also great.
Hmm. All right. Yeah.
There's definitely someone here who calls me the best legs in Portland comedy, and I'm like, please stop. There are definitely better
Oh,
ones.
oh,
There are definitely better ones.
lucky
Stop,
you.
but also keep going.
Right. Do you have any sexual regrets?
Oh, so many. I had a sort of regular practice in college, and sometimes to this day, well, it's not even when it's regretful, but definitely it was in college when I was like, oh, well, that was not right. And maybe that's internalized shame, and sometimes it was definitely like someone crossed my boundaries or did this or that, but like every time I was just like, I regret what just happened. I would go to the McDonald's drive-through, the 24-hour one, and order a shit ton of food and just eat it all. And it is kind of a childhood comfort thing. I grew up very much in the height of the Happy Meal era, where I would beg my mother to go every week because I was collecting those toys. Uh,
Right.
it was just, it was where I was at. So it like
Hmm.
kind of takes me back to the simpler time
Right.
when sex wasn't even part of the conversation. And the most important thing to me was making sure I got Kermit the Frog on a skateboard, you know?
Right. Have you ever had sex with someone just to make them go home?
Yeah, yeah.
That question is just for me. That one is just
Uh,
for me.
well, I won't go into the full story, but I had like a long ass date in New York City where everything was so horrific from the get-go. And it wasn't even like I'm having sex with you so you go home. It was like so much so I was just like, well, I went through all of this with you. The least I can do is finish.
Oh,
Like I went through this hell, you insulting me, negging me, like doing the weirdest shit throughout this day, and like I don't know, it was a wild thing. There's not enough time for that entire story.
right. Okay. Do you have any items left on your sexual bucket list?
Oh, this is um this is oh, I'm like, how dirty can I get?
I can't wait to find out. So,
Well, I think I've just spent a lot of time desired for one thing, and I think partially in recent years have like opened up myself to the idea of like being more, I don't want to say switch, but just holding both of these polarities within me, where, I can be more dominant and aggressive, and I can be extremely submissive and flat out, for lack of a better word, well, also for like a less gendered term, because that's a problem for me. But sometimes with sex, I'm just like, I'm not going to correct you, but like for lack of better words, daddy's boy.
mhm.
So I've definitely like had this thing in my head where it's not original. It's not original. I feel like this is honestly from what I've gathered based on like Pornhub data, a huge fantasy that not everyone wants to live, but I'd live it. Sorry, I'm building this up way too much. It's
I don't
literally gangbang, to be
Oh, there we
gangbang.
go. Well, you sure pussyfooted around that one for a while. No, that's amazing. I love it.
Oh, yeah. That's sometimes we can't say what we actually want, and that's it's like a behavioral science thing, like can't say, won't say. And even with porn blogging, I realized that that was definitely something where we'd get a lot of negative comments on certain things, but then they'd be the things with the most clicks. And it's not the sensationalism of it, it's that people aren't willing to admit they're attracted to this. And privately, they might say it. So
Mhm. Right.
it was sort of like at the time, and I realize it I don't know. Oh, I don't want to go into that. I guess that I'll regret saying that. But there are multiple things that were more niche that like people were like, ew, stop, don't put this on this presumably man for man site. And then they're all clicking it. Like a lot
Right.
of these people are bi-curious or, you know, open to all these other things, or, they've held this standard of like, this is the ideal gay porn body, and like, then they see like bear porn and their minds are blown, and like, it's what they're clicking,
Right.
not
Right.
saying, yeah, I like this.
Mhm. Well, it's not something that you just say like in a, you know, at a tea party or something, you know.
Sure. But this wasn't a tea party.
Right. Um, what's your host song? What song, when you hear it, kind of wakes up your host spirit?
Um, so my more immediate one right now is Tinashe. Not the one you're thinking of, Getting No Sleep, the newer song. But my like mainstay one historically. And to the point where it's become a little campy and cheesy, but I still fucking love it. Genuine's Pony. It's number one. It was so ahead of its time production wise, and it's literally one of my favorite songs of all time, beyond being
Mm.
even just like a Ho song. Also,
Right.
pretty much any Rihanna.
All right. What's your Instagram?
Is at JJS_III. I should probably change it so it's easier to say out loud.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Mine's pretty convoluted too. All right, should be coming out about August 14th, I think.
Okay.
So do you have anything you want to promote around that time?
Oh, I hate that I have to look, but if it's
That's
not
okay.
the thing to take a quick look, I will let you know. Oh my God, what's happening? I will say the number one thing that comes to mind is that I'm doing a Degrassi themed comedy show at Funhouse Lounge on September 1st. It may or may not be the last show I do there under this series, Exquisite Nonsense, but it'll be three comedians writing 20-minute episodes of Degrassi,
Mhm.
the Canadian teen television series where they deal with lots of serious issues. And however they're dealing with that, I'm just giving them the freedom to write it. And then there will be two drag performers as well who are doing Degrassi themed numbers. So it's going to be a wild time. One of the things I'm most excited about in September, probably most relevant to this podcast, though, is that I will be on Sexy Talk at Infinity Room on August 22nd and on September 6th in Portland. I don't know if I will be on this show, but I am part of a group that's launching a show called Giggle Bottom, which is a comedy and kink educational show.
Oh, well, fun.
Yeah,
And you're also doing Diary of an Ex-Ho live with me
that is true.
on
That is
the
true.
September 20th and 21st.
Yeah.
20th at Infinity Room, 21st at the Siren Theater. So,
Yes.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
That is a hugely amazing reminder to me, which it is in my calendar. But yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking that was too far off. But it's also
No, you
a
know, when it comes to this show, I got to promote those things as much as I
yeah,
can.
it's
Um, all right, we're at the point now, which I did not prepare you for this, but I know you got a lot of them. So, one last story from you about
gosh,
whatever. I mean, sex, obviously, but just any story that you want to share with us before we go.
I was trying to think of something like wholesome, not too over the top. And what came to mind is that I was saying before that I was a porn blogger. And at some point, I wrote about someone. Actually, this happened twice that I wrote about someone and wound up sleeping with them. But
Ooh.
in this particular case, it was like far more wholesome. Like um, had a crush on someone who was on Jeopardy. Um, and I'm from New Jersey, and he at the time lived in New Jersey, a few towns away from my parents. Um, and I don't remember how it unfolded, but basically we wound up meeting up and, connected as I knew we would because I was like, I just feel some sort of like through a television felt a spark. Um,
Uh-huh.
and also we had a threesome at some point. So it was a repeat thing. But yeah, saw someone on Jeopardy and slept with them. That's there's not much more to that story.
That is amazing, though.
He did tell Alex Trebek about it when he came back for
Oh,
Jeopardy
really?
Stars, and it was like obviously not something Alex Trebek was going to air. So
Right.
instead, he told a story about like meeting Stephen Merritt from the Magnetic Fields.
Oh, oh, that's a cool story. I
Yeah.
We went and saw. We're in the audience of Jeopardy once before he died, so
Yeah.
that was kind of nice just to meet Alex Trebek.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you got me beat on Jeopardy stories, so. All right. Well, thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's going to be a great episode.
Yeah.
See you on the episode in August, and I will see you in person in September.
Alrighty.
All right.
Yay.
Bye.
Thank you again.